Hi guys, this is Pilleater, and I'm joined here with the Anime Right radio host PTT and Triggerbait. Hey there,
Hey, how's it
guys.
going? What's up?
I'm also
Hello,
joined.
hello.
I'm also joined here with Robert Stark.
Hi guys.
So I thought that was interesting. Anime Right. I had a friend on the show some while back named Hannah, and he told me about the Anime Right, and I found it fascinating at first. I didn't know it was such a hashtag thing until I really started to realize that it's pretty serious when there's an Antifa who has a giant sign that says "Not anime Nazis, fuck off."
Oh yeah,
I love it. I love it.
Was this at a protest or just an online meme?
I think it was at a protest.
Yeah, and it was an
I mean,
actual
yeah, a
real
lot of
guy.
it goes back. What is it like? Rick Wilson during the primaries, he said Trump supporters are irrelevant. They're just a bunch of like unemployed racists who jerk off to anime.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, we stepped it up from there to the whole anime Nazi thing, which has gotten actually a lot of traction. It was even Patton Oswalt and a few other people have referenced the anime Nazis, and we wear that label proudly.
This seems like some kind of
Didn't some of the original mangas flirt with fascist themes?
Yeah, well, depending. I mean, a lot of people have been saying of I can never pronounce its name. Neo Evelyn.
Oh, Neon Genesis Evangelion. Sorry,
Yeah.
I am probably the weeb here.
Exactly.
Like,
So,
if anyone has a weeaboo level here, it's probably me.
thank you. It's
Yeah,
something.
Neon Genesis Evangelion. That anime does have a lot of it's first off, it's insanely deep. And it does kind of touch on like it's just great how it just touches on like pseudo political things, and to a degree is red pilling on its own, and it's definitely worth a watch.
I mean, even Jason Giorgiani in his book Prometheus and Atlas has a whole chapter on Akira and that anime, and
Yeah.
I just think it's premier anime, or at least that there was some significance in the '90s, or at least the American scene on that. It's I don't know. I just refer to it as the girl with the red hair and the girl with the blue hair. But another friend told me that they're all half Japanese and they're actually Japanese white mixes.
I mean, when you look at, I mean, and I was kind of in a conversation a couple days ago about this, but when you look at anime today, even when you look at anime today, a lot of these models and a lot of these characters are modeled. The way that they're colored and stuff like that, like they look more on the white side. It's crazy, and it's kind of like that connection. It's kind of like a connection between white and Japanese culture, just somehow that way. And I think like through a degree of like westernization of the Far East and of Japan over time, it's kind of become like let's try and instill these traditional values and these positive things from Western culture, while still remaining to have that Eastern heritage that they have. I mean, you could see that you could kind of see that in anime today too, because there's I mean, obviously, just like in any other kind of entertainment industry, you have varying levels of stuff, ranging from stuff for kids, for stuff for adults. However, there are a lot of constants in it, and they are primarily traditional family values. They're very chivalrous.
Oh yeah.
In some degree. So, and that's, I think, in my opinion, that's a blend of both East and West Western values that have been imparted.
My one friend
Well,
told me. What's that?
Yeah, to my knowledge, with the whole thing is that a lot of the original Japanese anime stuff was modeled after early Western animation, like Betty Boop. And
Yeah.
to my knowledge, that's where the big eyes came from. Like that's why originally they went with the big eyes after Betty Boop, because after around World War II, that was a huge, like Popeye and Betty
Hmm.
Boop and all that shit was really big Western animation. So
Yeah, the rubber hose style. Ube Iwerk, I think his name is, or the guy who made Oswald the Rabbit, or there's those old classic 1920s. Yeah, I could definitely see that with the whole block prints and all. But I was thinking of my one friend told me that there was a anime Attack on Titan, and supposedly it takes place in a future where everyone's half European and half Japanese. I think that's kind of funny.
But it's weird as like these anime characters, and we were talking about the same thing with like the races of The Legend of Zelda. Like they're not really Eurasians; they're like this like mythical race of like blonde hair with like cute faces, and I don't know. Pilleater, you have a word for them, but
Oh yeah, you mean Asian alien?
I don't know. I think I mean you, especially in like Hyrule, right? So like because that's where all of this is taking place, right? Hyrule is, I don't know where this place is, but it has insane aesthetics. And wherever it is, with the insane aesthetics, they also, they just have, they believe in the goddess and the Triforce. It's monotheism, and the Triforce is just a tool, to for the goddess to exert their power, her power. I'm sorry, and
Zer power.
Zer power. No, it's a her. It's definitely a her, and that's like still one religion. It's pretty crazy. I just wonder, how much of that is derivative from Christianity.
Why do you
Oh
think
yeah, that's Triforce. I mean, right there.
Holy
Yeah.
Trinity? Yeah.
Right.
Why do you think there should be a need for the anime right when basically if you have any flirtations with anything that's non-white, you're gonna be like the right stuff.biz guys say you're gonna be put into a gas chamber or something, because it seems like flirting with anime just means you're being a degenerate or some Judeo influence upon you.
Yeah, and I've heard that. I hear that argument a lot. Like, how do you guys reconcile, kind of glorifying this Eastern art form when the alt-right is, mostly about, at least the loudest voices in it are, Western. It's about Western culture for the most part. And I don't know. It's because we don't. I mean, we don't glorify it like, oh, Japanese, Japan is the best. It's, I don't know. I hear that argument a lot though. Like, how do we reconcile those two things together? And I don't know. We just do. I mostly, when people ask questions like that, I just give them some snarky ass answer and just leave it at that.
But I've even seen it from like the 1488 types, like with using anime avatars of swastikas.
Oh yeah.
I think what it is, folks, is that when you kind of look at it, when you kind of look at anime itself, I mean, one, it is one of the main exports. It's one of the main exports, artistic exports from Japan. There's so much stuff coming out regarding anime, right? There's so much of it coming out every year, every season. There's so much content you can pick from, and that stuff does run the gambit. There's some stuff that is completely bound in, it's bound in honor. It has, there are no signs of degeneracy in it. It's very chivalrous. There is stuff that's meant for kids, that's meant to encourage people to be to push themselves to a limit, and to to make friends and stuff like that. And there are more adult themed stuff, and all of those things I think have their place. But when you look at it from a content and from a mimetic standpoint, right, there is so much content for you for someone to appropriate, and I think maybe I think what it is kind of like the name of the game is appropriation, and I think appropriating and triggering people off of appropriation is the name of the game since identity politics and since the rise of this victimhood currency and this victimhood culture. And I just think like when you pull from that and you put your own twist on it, especially when you apply, right wing beliefs and stuff like that to it, I think it's just a nice blend. And to be honest, I mean, with so much content coming out and it being such a competitive market in Japan, all you're getting is stuff with better aesthetics. I mean, don't get me wrong. There's beautiful paintings that are being painted, that were from the Renaissance, and all around that time. But and that stuff is beautiful. And I don't think people want to defame that stuff. I think it's just easier to appropriate from Japan. To be completely honest,
a lot of the mangas were influenced by the Art Nouveau artwork, like artists like Alphonse Mucha. Like I guess. Some examples are especially like the more avant-garde stuff like Pilleater and Kaze Tsukino-uta.
Oh, absolutely. Those are some of my favorite. I was actually about to say that you guys now have AnimeRight.news, and it seems to be a news website. And just within the past 24 hours, I actually uploaded a memoir from the review column about this one obscure anime called Aim for the Ace, which is like 78 or 79. I saw that in my freshman year of college, and it's once again, it has that very watercolor style. I'm probably sure Robert Stark would know much more about. I can't really. I would suggest Robert to go watch Aim for the Ace. It's a very it's one of those aesthetically pleasing animes to watch. But
I'll do a quick Google image search.
But it could definitely anime. We're so used to seeing the classical high school anime, in the past 10 years, where it's like they're in a high school together, and it seems to be a guy and all these girls with different tit size. But at the same time, however, there's also different, aspects and aesthetics from different Japanese artists. We could be talking about Araki, who made a JoJo's Bizarre Adventure, this very esoteric tarot card style, or Akira Toriyama, who's known for his edgy eyebrow, goofy-looking characters from like Dr. Slump and Dragon Quest. But everybody supposedly, Japanese artists all have these aesthetic styles that contribute to anime, and I think definitely it has certain different aesthetics, and I guess it's definitely something that's like you guys just said. It certainly has to do with looking at beauty, right? There's no way you can see some degenerate egalitarian left-wing message through this.
Yeah, there's a thing that we've been kind of passing around. It was a screenshot from, I think it came from Poll. It talks about how anime is it says anime is right-wing as fuck. It says anime teaches you conservative values, friendship, national unity, women not being degenerate sluts, cultural unity and activities, red pilling, and showing pride in your own race. And then at the bottom it says, anyone who says anime is degenerate is just a piece of shit and should be lynched themselves. So,
that's pretty.
yeah.
One of my favorite animes growing up was Slam Dunk, and it's basically about basketball. It's all men. You don't even see any girls in that show. And I guess in the American audience, you might say it's like gay or maybe a yaoi or something like that. But if you watch Slam Dunk in every single 100 episodes, or even read the manga by Inoue, even his classic Vagabond, it's like this very aesthetically pleasing. You want to be a part of the basketball team, or at least it's telling the Japanese youth that they can do something in a sport they're not.
Is it similar to Kaze?
No, I don't know about. There's some yaoi themes in it, definitely, but I think it's more Japanese against the dirty Black Americans and the darker-skinned Asians. I think there is some slight racial war in Slam Dunk, which needs to be taught. I'll write something about that in the future, but yeah, it's definitely one of those classic animes from mid-90s period.
Well, that's one of the things that you see in animes. They're not really. They don't seem to be bound by the same cultural I don't know, barriers that we have in the States, they will, hammer at a lot of these topics pretty, unapologetically and just go for it. And I mean, it's commendable as far as, I'm concerned.
I was looking at a map, and I wish I could pull it up for you guys, but I can't at the moment. But essentially, what it was it was a map, and it broke down Japan by, I believe it's prefectures, and it was like the areas in which 97% of the population is Japanese. Is like unmixed Japanese.
Yes.
And majority of that map is lit up, the entire thing. There is no, and they're allowed to do that. They within their culture, and promoting that, promoting pride in oneself and one's culture, one's history, and ultimately, their background, has enabled them to be that way. It's the way that their culture is structured, and it being shame, trying to not shame you, your name, your family, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Having face, and people actually caring about what you do. It leads to just making safer decisions.
Yeah,
and,
there's something inherently right wing about their
That's exactly what I was getting at. Is like there's you're not gonna be this triggered snowflake. You know what I mean? You're not gonna be this triggered left snowflake. Running around in bleedy period shorts. Because you don't want to dishonor your family, like literally. And so I mean it's just I mean good for them, and it reflects on in their art medium. I'm sorry. Yeah.
And I think the fact that, they are an ethno state also ties back into, a connection with the alt-right. I think that there's some kind of connection there. I don't know how to really, hash that out specifically, but there is a connection. And I think that's maybe where, some of this comes from.
It's funny you mention that it's all, the progressive would say, well, there's Afro Samurai and there's the Boondocks, those are black animes. How would you respond to that?
So what?
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Like it's and kind of like looking, you can kind of look at it, especially on the old twitter.com, right? There's the anime right has grown, and it's become I'm impressed. I'm impressed with how it's going right now. It's a bunch of great people. But someone was like, "Oh, OMG, there's like an anime left." And I'm like, "So? I don't care." I mean, first off, it's a platform that you're supposed to have free speech on, right? We all know that's false, but the idea is that that it's supposed to be a platform for people that have their different views and stuff like that, and to be honest, I couldn't care less if there's an anime left, because the people I care about are in the anime right,
Plus it gives us somebody to LARP against, so that's fine.
Yeah, exactly.
Also true, yes. Like we have the best LARPers. We have the best team. No one LARPs better than us. No one does.
I like how Pilleater does his speech for his channel. It's like a political ad. Like, I'm Pilleater. I will make anime real.
Yes. Yes, I will. Yeah, it stuns people. Remember that classic meme, Bernie Sanders will make anime real? It's like or even Donald Trump will make anime real. It's as if everybody would...
Trump anime.
Exactly.
Trump anime was huge. Trump anime was huge in the movement. Like and just as someone who like casually perused Twitter, especially at that time, it was bigly like the part of that movement. And to be honest, first kind of jumping into the anime right, a part of me just assumed, well, this was Trump anime in its second form. But on the contrary, I think, it definitely stemmed from something completely different. It just, I mean, you could say that maybe it's assimilating, Trump anime people, but to be honest, it's its own unique thing, and that's what's so fucking cool about
It
it.
seems like
Well, that seems
yeah.
the Trump anime thing seemed more of like a troll thing to me. Like it really triggered people and got people all bent out of shape that there were MAGA hats on, their favorite anime characters, and the people that were outside of the anime world, they just, they attributed it to all these autistic, guys and all this, and it just really bought. And I think that what we're doing is we're just trying to. In a way, it is the next iteration. We're trying to, narrow it down a little more and, tie it in more with the alt-right. Although not everybody is, alt-right. There's 1488ers in, the anime right, as well as, some centrist, left or right-leaning, people. So, yeah, I mean, in a lot of ways, I do feel like it's, the next iteration.
It's funny. My yellow-pilled film was about a few years ago. I saw a movie called The Wind Rises in theaters. And when that movie came out, that's a Miyazaki film, The Village Voice and magazines like The Nation said it was the most racist, vile thing ever. And yet this was some weird, strange, had an English dub with Werner Herzog in it. And it basically was an unapologetic fascist film about the guy who made the kamikaze, pilots happen, and he was defending it, sign of like a tragic film. But look, if you say Miyazaki is this wonderful Walt Disney of Japan, and when you start reading his Table Talks books and his criticism towards Israel, you start to realize these racial backgrounds and these very things. And I think The Wind Rises is almost like Hans-Jürgen Sieberberg's Hitler in a strange way. But it definitely upsets those people with the manga hats on their favorite anime characters until you realize the racial background of the Japanese. Chances are the Japanese don't like black people, Chances are the Japanese are very ethnocentric, and it's certain wisdom that people should learn about.
Yeah, I agree.
Chances are the Japanese do believe that the Jews fear the samurai.
Oh yeah, yes. Oh, he's funny.
Oh man.
But I forget his name. I always keep forgetting his name, but I remember coming across his video a few years ago.
I don't know, but it's a legendary meme. I love it. It's I always as someone who kind of especially kind of jumped on board the anime right, as someone who is more on the mimetic side of it. I just look at things and I just think like how, like from a memes standpoint, how strong is this? And when I saw that stuff, when I was looking at that stuff, I just thought, wow, that's a strong, spicy meme. They don't make them like that anymore. Well, I mean they do, but wow, this is a good one.
But that it's this anime right thing is becoming kind of big now that there's a domain that goes to a Facebook, a Discord page, anime.news, the Twitter. It seems like this whole scattered network is actually quite cohesive and forming. And now that you guys have your own radio program on the YouTube channel, I expect that maybe some more foundational possible alt-right figures or just unheard underground voices will come and start basically reappreciating anime, or at least seeing anime in a new perspective,
Agreed. Yeah, that's kind of what we're trying to do. At least that's what I wanted to do, was to make this a platform, not only just for right-wing political views, but a creative outlet. That's why I'm glad that we have like the Anime Right meme site, which is a team effort between many people creating and making these memes. It's an outlet. I mean, we're going to move into, music. It's going to be one of the next things that we do. I mean, we just launched wrongthink.net, which did previously exist, but it kind of like went away, but we reinvigorated it. And it's really connected in with the Anime Right, at least initially, although it's growing like exponentially every single day with how many people are joining. And so, yeah, it's an effort to build out a platform for this culture to stand on its own outside of, even though we primarily started with Twitter, with all the censorship that's going on there, there was a need for a platform that would allow us to keep going regardless of that, so that's why we, put the efforts into getting, a new social media site. Also, the Anime Right News is built on a BuzzFeed style back end, which in a way that's good because then we can get our message out, but we can also kind of take a shit on, the clickbait style of BuzzFeed and kind of ironically play off that. So yeah, we really are like we're going off in many different directions, but all of them kind of have a unified approach.
You guys got to get on Jared Taylor and at least talk to Jared Taylor about his experiences in Japan, or at least finally ask him what his favorite anime is, because I assumingly think his favorite anime is Doraemon from gossip.
Yeah, it's possible. It would be awesome to be able to, and maybe we're going to move into that, with this show, being able to move to the point where we are, at first we're going to kind of go through a lot of the kind of in-house, people that we have, under the Anime Right umbrella and interview them and talk to them about specific things. But then, yeah, we also want to expand out. I mean, I would love to eventually be able to, have a deeper discussion about this stuff with, Richard Spencer, maybe even Jared Taylor and, those type of people. So we'll get there.
Yeah, I mean, just start with the topic of, maybe you can always put in a flare, ask them what their favorite anime is. But there was a stream with Richard Spencer, and I don't think Richard Spencer knew what Evangelic was. I can't even pronounce it.
Evangelion.
Mentioned it in his
Evangelion.
book.
Yep.
Yeah.
Didn't Giorgiani mention it?
Yeah, Giorgiani mentioned. Giorgiani knows what it is, and he knows what Akira is. And Giorgiani probably has watched anime throughout his time. But I don't know if he's willing to sit down and actually talk about the significance of Jap. Probably he could talk about Prometheus and Atlas in his book about Japanese philosophy. That would be nice.
Well, that's one of the things that I think we're trying to overcome in general with this is everybody's notions that, at least from some of the shit that's gone on Twitter and maybe even on Tumblr and other social media sites or stuff, that, that anime is somehow, degenerate, and there's a lot of people with all the lewd posting and there's hentai and there's all this kind of stuff. And there's really what a lot of it is it's counter signaling jokes. I mean, these are people that they're not even really necessarily into traps or whatever, but they like to make jokes about that. But to the outside world, those counter-signaling jokes, they fall on deaf ears to people who don't get it. They just see it for what it is, and they're like, oh, man, if you're into anime, you're like degenerate or whatever. And I've been trying to, I think all of us have, been trying to make a concerted effort to overcome that, to make room for, the anime aesthetic in a right-wing context, because we don't support all that stuff. I mean, we are inherently right-wing, which means, it comes with,
So you don't post any hentai?
No, actually, I am kind of an asshole within our little in-group about that. And I write pretty hard about it when they do.
Yeah.
We use the bully side technique often, not only with people outside, but people with inside of our group. I think that it toughens everybody up. It's kind of a tough love approach, and so far it really works.
Is Katse Tukina Uta too degenerate for the anime, right?
That's a yaoi, guys. What do you think about yaoi?
Yeah, I mean,
yaoi and Yuri.
The right wing
aren't
really. Yeah, they don't really mix too well.
Well, I look at it as...
I remember when we were doing shows and you keep saying that word yaoi, and then I Googled it, and the Wikipedia definition said it's a, boy love genre. I was like, what? This is what we've been talking about the whole time? I had no idea.
Well, here's the thing. Look at it as a boys thing, right? I mean, and not to say, male aesthetic. I'm all for male aesthetic. Think about the body of Adonis. If you think about men doing manly things, think of it in that nature, but try not to think of more of the sexual nature. I mean, of course, girls will read yaoi and look at the sexy men and want the perfect boyfriend. But if men were to read the yaoi, they often look at it as wisdom towards, a good boyfriend, or at least the male aesthetic. If you can get that wisdom out of yaoi.
I see where you're going, but at the same time, those things should that type of wisdom should be instilled on you from your father. Mm-hmm. And that's kind of, and I kind of to a degree I can kind of see where the Japanese work culture and the work stress, and you work yourself to death and you don't come home until late, I can kind of see where there might be a potential lack of a father figure. However, traditional family values in a standard Japanese family, father should be around, and the father should be able to instill that wisdom and knowledge, and the need for yaoi and the of yaoi and yuri, and seeing the the sexualization of it, which is what eventually has what has come to be common knowledge, right, for people that are just peering into yaoi and yuri. That stuff's not needed, to be honest. And I mean,
well, there's a great
from a traditional family value, analyzing anime, it's not needed. If you look at it from like in an economic point of view, right? When you look at it from that point of view, there's going to be a point in time when you have SUVs and you have and you have trucks, and then you have crossovers, right? So it's like eventually, looking at it market wise, I mean, that was from pure mathematics, that was bound to exist. However, if you are, in the traditional family and in those right-wing politics and in those right-wing beliefs, you have a traditional family where your father is supposed to impose all of that knowledge and wisdom onto you as a young boy, or your mother is supposed to impose all that wisdom and knowledge to you as a young girl, And so that's kind of why, I mean, I don't really care much for yaoi or yuri. I really don't.
Well, it's so sexual. They made it for a sexual market.
Precisely,
But like I said, a great manga that does instill fatherly values. It's one of the longest running mangas ever. It's called Cooking Papa. It's about a dad who makes good food, who's a good dad. It's kind of little known in America, but you could find translations of it online. But I think Cooking Papa is a really interesting and classical manga. You might want to talk about patriarchal or fatherly needs. It's completely about what you're saying, actually.
Nice.
But we're at the 30-minute marker right now, and so I guess to wrap it up is, what do you guys are looking towards the future of the Anime Right project, and do you see expansion or some more cohesive form, or at least being more open to a normie audience?
Well, yeah, I mean, that's also part of this. Like, when we really got started, I didn't want this to totally be just an alt-right thing. And the reason why is because we want to be able to red pill normies. And to do that, you can't be too, hardline about it, because then they won't feel comfortable even coming in at all. And that's kind of the point to some of this, is to use this anime thing to try to reinvigorate, like a more traditional cultural element. And some people say, you're really, shooting for the moon on that. But we're trying it anyway. I mean, I figure that to win the culture back, we have to use what is available to us. And this is one of those things. I mean, that's kind of what this whole effort is to do. I mean, while Trump is in office and he's hammering out the political side of things, people still need to be fighting the cultural side of things and trying to get it and shift the Overton window further over to the right, away from the left craziness. And, and for me personally, that's why I don't disavow the 1488ers in any way, shape, or form. Because you have to overshoot the boundary. You got to try to overshoot the mark, because the reality is you're going to land somewhere in the middle. And when this all comes out in the wash, I want the Overton window to be somewhere a little further over to the right. I just think that it's going to be, more beneficial for everybody. If that can happen.
That's an interesting point, because those kind of like more quote unquote extreme elements, they serve a purpose in a sense in making other people seem centrist or moderate in comparison.
Yeah, it's broad spectrum kind of. It's broad spectrum for a reason. Everyone has a place, to a certain degree, but I think like kind of getting back to the platform itself, real quick. I just think that what will happen is, while the aesthetic will appeal to some, others will come for the topics and stuff like that will be covered. And really what I think it is, getting portions of your silent majority that spoke at the polls, right? That spoke at the polls to get Trump elected, but to get more of those people active and engaged, and there is an aesthetic. It's easy on the eyes, but at the same time, there's so many possibilities and potentials to make comedy out of things, to make light of things, to make things lighthearted, and then to eventually, you got to lead the horse to water. You know what I mean? To that nice, yummy red pill water. You know what I'm saying? So, I think the where it's going, we have an amazing team. No one's got a better team than us, and I just think that every person is working towards that, and I'm just astounded. Like I'm blown away. I came for memes, and I'm here for something totally different now. It's beautiful.
Well,
yeah. As far as like all the different platforms and stuff that we have, I just want to be able to say that the Anime Right News is open. It's a community content driven platform, so anyone can join up and write articles, listicles, quizzes, polls, reviews, and as long as it's something within the right wing spectrum or related to anime, we're good. I mean, there's also stuff on there, real esoteric stuff. There's religious stuff. There's the full gambit. So everybody's welcome to come and make an account and write something and then push it. As far as Wrong Think goes, it's a totally non-censorship platform. It's kind of like Facebook. And I mean, I think we have like 1,000 users already, and it's not even been a week. So it's blowing up pretty quick. So yeah, I mean, we're an inclusive group. I mean, there is some exclusiveness to it, but for the most part, we're inclusive. We want other people to come and join because the more people involved, the more viewpoints we get. And, that's good for everybody. I mean, the people that are really far right, they have something to say. The people that are centrist-ish, they have something to say. And as long as we can, work together, which seems to be a difficult thing for the right wing to do because we're all really individualists, but, work together in a way like the left is doing. That's where a lot of their power is from, and we can't be them, and we can't be collectivized like that just because it goes against our nature. But at the same time, I think there's a happy medium there, and that's what we're trying to do.
Yeah, to kind of jump on that as well really quickly, with the show Rise of Anime Right on YouTube. I will, as someone who kind of peruses the content, great content, like you said, on animeright.news. I peruse that stuff, and there's a chance for articles to be put on the show for us to talk about. It's an amazing source because it is driven by the community. I mean, one, you never really know what you're going to get. But two, all of the content's great because I mean a lot of the people that are part of the Anime Right or jumping on the Anime Right news and putting articles, they're great thinkers, they're great writers, they're great people. Wrong Think does have like a Twitter share mechanic sort of, and then it also kind of has that Facebook. That Facebook mechanic as well as far as groups and stuff like that. It's really awesome, not censored. It's great, and I mean, with Twitter censorship, I mean, I love it. I mean, I've on the Anime Right show. Sorry, at the very end, I mean, I have to play taps for people that get showed, for people that are really just only voicing their opinion, so
I wanted to make a quick shout out to Barcode Baker and his article about waifuism or NGE phenomenon. I can't never say that, but it's basically an article. He showed me this a few hours ago about, and it's basically about finding the right waifu and connecting it to classical European culture, or I think it's Greek culture. But it's interesting that he makes these points as if there's some, once again, this West and East kind of flare going on, and I think that's what kind of articles Anime Right seems to be publishing at the moment, where it's like making these connections of classical, new right or alt-right or countercurrents right things with Eastern or anime medium. And I think it's definitely an exciting thing, especially in Japanese pop culture, which seems to be very significant today in our society when we have too many white girls believing they're anime characters or white boys doing the same thing. Yeah.
Later in your upcoming novel, do you talk about a significant portion of the book dedicated to anime?
Well, actually, there's a few parts, but I'm not so sure. Not really, but I at least, you know what? I'll definitely do more anime reviews and put them up on animeright.news if I have something significant to say about it, because I literally have
You wrote one so far. Can you talk about that?
Okay. Well, there's really quickly. There's I just posted this within 10 hours, is the Aim for the Ace article. Basically, a few years ago, I was a freshman in college, and I was with my girlfriend, and I saw this film on Valentine's Day about this girl who plays tennis, and I thought it was going to be some new anime, when in fact it was kind of another yellow pilling experience for me, where it was this old-fashioned kind of watercolor-style movie about just basically two girls in post-fascist Japan, where 10 years after Mishima's death, we now have this kind of, video arcades and trains and like post-nuclear war outrage, and just this strange coming-to-age story about this girl trying to find her identity, or at least putting her body to work and falling in love with the fascist coach, which becomes more like a Sylvia Plath kind of thing. But I fell in love more with the movie for the aesthetic-wise, and I just recommend everyone to go see Aim for the Ace and just put it up on Google search. I don't know if it's up on YouTube anymore, but it's definitely one of those classical films.
You said that Aim for the Ace could be compared as a Japanese alt-left aesthetic in reference to
because the reason why I said that was because Rabbit, quickly, is that Rabbit often flirts with space-age things, this whole bachelor plaid 1960s aesthetic. And I saw the same thing for the Aim to the Ace, where if you, if you don't know a word of Japanese and you just watch the film, you're definitely definitely a film for like maybe young girls or this kiddie thing, but you start to see this whole Japan that wasn't invaded by the West, or wasn't like what stuff white people likes Tokyo, but more of this Japanese in between of them discovering technology. And it seems to me that white people can really only care about things that happened in the 80s and 90s, like Akira. And then everything before then, Aim for the Ace, was like right to the turn of the decade, where it basically was one of those obscure Japanese cultural things. Another one an anime that I really like, and it's very similar to Aim for the Ace, is Darinko Chie, which is Chi the Brat, which is another film, kind of another. I don't know if the existential is right, but it's definitely a film about Japan, and that's really what I'm trying to say for the whole Aim for the Ace thing. But okay, to wrap things up, I want to thank PTT and PTT and Triggerbait for being on, and I looking forward to the Anime Right radio show.
We're glad to be on.
Thanks.
Also want to thank Robert.
Glad to be on.
Also want to thank Robert Stark too.
Thank you, Pilleater.
Awesome. Talk to you later, guys.
Have a good one.